Sometimes, the greatest pain is not hunger, nor cold, nor loneliness, it's being invisible in a world full of people rushing past you. She wasn't holding out her hand for coins, she was simply waiting for someone, anyone, to truly see her. On the crowded sidewalks of New York City, people walked as though every second mattered more than breath itself. Car horns blared, businessmen shouted into phones, and yellow taxis sped through puddles left by last night's rain. Amid this relentless noise, a small figure sat quietly against the wall of an old brick building. Her clothes were torn, her hair tangled, her shoes mismatched and too big for her feet. She couldn't have been more than 12 years old. Her knees were tucked to her chest, her thin arms wrapped around herself as if she were trying to hold the pieces of her world together. Beside her, a crumpled paper cup sat empty, not because she was begging, but because someone had left it there once and never taken it back. She didn't ask for money, she didn't stretch out her hand, she didn't call after strangers. She just sat there, staring at the ground, as if the concrete understood her better than the people who passed by. Dozens of faces walked by every minute, eyes fixed on phones, on watches, on store windows. Not a single one slowed down to notice her. And maybe that hurt more than hunger. The truth was, she wasn't waiting for coins to fall into that paper cup. She wasn't waiting for leftovers or pity. She was waiting for someone to pause, to ask her name, to see that she existed beyond the dirt and torn clothes. Every day blurred into the next. Sometimes she found scraps of food in trash bins. Sometimes a bakery worker left a stale roll near the back door. Sometimes the cold nights forced her to press her face against the subway grates for warmth. But no matter what, she returned to the same corner every morning and sat in the same position. It was her silent prayer. Maybe today, someone will notice me. Her name was Lily. Once upon a time, Lily had a home filled with laughter. She had a mother who braided her hair and a father who taught her how to ride a bike. But a sudden illness took her mother, and grief swallowed her father whole. Bills piled up. Rent went unpaid. And then, one morning, the landlord stood at the door with a notice in his hand and sorrow in his eyes. Within days, Lily and her father were on the street. At first, he tried, he searched for jobs, he told her they would be fine, he made up bedtime stories in shelters. But the weight of despair is heavy, and one morning Lily woke up alone. Her father's jacket was folded beside her. His note was only 2 lines, "I'm sorry. Be strong, my little flower." She never saw him again. And so, Lily learned to disappear into the city's rhythm. She was too small to fight, too proud to beg, and too hopeful to give up. She just wanted someone, anyone, to see that she was more than a shadow on the sidewalk. But days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, and she wondered if invisibility had become her only identity. One autumn morning, while the city rushed the same as always, a man in his early 30s stopped at the corner where Lily sat. His name was Daniel. He was a marketing executive, always in a hurry, always thinking 2 steps ahead. He had just received news that his promotion was slipping away to someone else. His life felt like a treadmill, fast, exhausting, and going nowhere meaningful. As he hurried past, something unusual tugged at his senses. It wasn't the sight of Lily's tangled hair or her dirty hands. It was her stillness. She wasn't calling for help like others he had seen. She wasn't reaching out. She was just waiting. For reasons he couldn't explain, Daniel slowed down. People bumped into him, muttering in irritation, but he stood still and looked at her. Her eyes, hidden under strands of messy hair, glanced up for a split second, and in that fraction of a second, he saw something that unsettled him. Not desperation. Not anger. Just longing. A deep, wordless plea, "Please see me." He crouched down, and the world seemed to quiet around him. "Hey," he said softly, unsure what else to say. Lily flinched at first, then studied his face cautiously. "Are you hungry?" he asked. She didn't nod, didn't shake her head. She just hugged her knees tighter. He noticed the empty paper cup beside her and almost pulled out his wallet, but then he stopped himself. Something told him this wasn't about money. He tucked his wallet back into his pocket. "What's your name?" he asked instead. It was the first time in weeks that someone had asked her that. Her lips parted, dry and hesitant. Lily. Daniel smiled faintly. "That's a beautiful name. My mom used to call me Danny Boy, but I always hated it." He chuckled awkwardly. For the first time, Lily almost smiled. Almost. Something fragile stirred in her eyes. Daniel felt a lump rise in his throat. How many people had passed her by, never realizing she was a child with a name, a story, a soul. He couldn't just walk away. Not this time. He offered his hand. "Come on. Let's get breakfast." She hesitated, fear and hope battling in her chest. But something in his voice felt different. Gentle. Genuine. Slowly, cautiously, she placed her tiny hand in his. And just like that, the world shifted. For Lily, this was not about food, it was about being seen. Daniel brought Lily to a small diner 2 blocks away. The waitress raised her eyebrows when she saw the disheveled girl holding his hand, but Daniel ignored the stares. He ordered pancakes, eggs, and hot chocolate for her, coffee for himself. Lily sat quietly, her eyes wide at the sight of warm food arriving on a plate meant for her. At first, she ate timidly, as though it might be taken away. Then hunger took over, and she devoured every bite. Daniel didn't rush her. He just watched, his heart heavy and alive all at once. He wanted to ask her everything, where her parents were, where she slept at night, why she was out here alone. But he knew questions could be sharp, and this girl looked like she had already been cut too many times. So instead, he talked about simple things, how he once burned toast so badly his smoke alarm went off, how he hated Mondays, how his little sister used to steal his sneakers. To his surprise, Lily giggled softly. Just once. But it was enough. After breakfast, Daniel bought her a warm coat and shoes that fit. She resisted at first, shaking her head, but he knelt down and said, "You deserve this. Not because you asked. Because you matter." That word, matter, echoed in Lily's heart. For the first time since her father left, she felt like she wasn't invisible. Days turned into weeks. Daniel checked on her every morning before work. Sometimes he brought food, sometimes books, sometimes just conversation. Slowly, Lily began to trust him. She told him bits and pieces, her mom's laugh, her dad's last note, the nights she spent curled up on subway grates. Daniel listened, every detail piercing his chest like a needle. He realized this wasn't just about kindness anymore. It was about responsibility. This girl needed more than occasional meals, she needed a chance. Months later, Daniel made a decision that changed both their lives. He contacted a local children's shelter and explained Lily's situation. With patient care, paperwork, and persistence, Lily was taken into a safe home where she had her own bed, meals, and schooling. Daniel visited often, cheering her on as she learned again how to laugh, how to dream. She wasn't the same girl sitting invisible against a wall anymore. She was a student, a reader, a friend. Years passed, and Lily grew into a determined young woman. She studied hard, driven not by ambition alone but by gratitude for the second chance she was given. When she walked across the graduation stage years later, she spotted Daniel in the crowd, clapping with tears in his eyes. Her speech wasn't long, but every word silenced the auditorium. "I used to think I was invisible. I wasn't begging for money, I was just waiting for someone to see me. And one person did. That made all the difference. Today, I want to spend my life seeing others who feel unseen." That night, Daniel realized something profound. He had set out to help a little girl, but in truth, she had saved him too. She reminded him of the humanity he had lost in the chase for promotions and deadlines. She reminded him that life wasn't about rushing past, it was about stopping, noticing, and choosing to care. And Lily? She carried her story forward, becoming a voice for children like her. No longer invisible, no longer waiting, she stood tall in the light. She wasn't begging. She was just waiting. And finally, she had been seen. Lily's story reminds us that sometimes the greatest gift we can give is not money, but simply the gift of seeing someone, truly seeing them. How many people are waiting, silently, for someone to notice? If this story touched your heart, don't let it stop here. Share it, spread kindness, and be the reason someone feels visible today. Subscribe to Kindness Vibes for more real stories that remind us of the power of compassion. Together, let's build a world where no one is invisible.